trying to get comfortable before filming is a thing. Well, hello, I'm Erica. I am Odd. First things first, I am feeling much better. Thank you for asking. Last week was just sort of like a lazy, cozy yapping vlog, but it gave me a lot of time to sit down and sort of figure out what videos I want to make and kind of brainstorm, which was nice. Outside of just my little bookish, yappish vlogs. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects, books, obviously. But I want to talk about a genre that I have loved for years before I even got into romance, right? So like we have my romance, we have my collection of Hannah Grace that actually got me into romance books. And then of course we have just a little bit of dark romance. I'm not a huge dark romance girly. I'm very picky when it comes to dark romance. It has to be the correct trope or else I won't enjoy it. If you can see the rest of my bookshelf, which you can't, but you can see some of it, I have become such a romance girly, right? And I never was before. I was always like, oh my god, romance is just not for me. The fluffy romance books just like aren't for me. They are. I just had to like find the correct ones. I got on that train, but the train that I was on before and I still am on and always will be on are thriller and scary books. They are my bread and butter. I love them. As we know, I love like scary movies. I am such like a scary movie fanatic. I love all things spooky and haunted, all of it. So it's kind of a no-brainer that I also love reading about it. And I bring up the romance books, but it's because I'll usually read a romance book along with some sort of thriller. So like right now I am reading Scythe and Sparrow, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, which is more of a thriller, I would say. And then I'm also reading Tough Score from the Score series. So I'm reading 3 different books. They're all completely different. I'm a mood reader. So I always like to have sort of like a thriller or a mystery in the mix, even if it's just like a short novella. So today I wanted to take the time to recommend you guys some of my top 5 favorite thrillers. I'm gonna work backwards, right? So I'm gonna start with number 5 and on number 1. Those are the vibes we're bringing to the function. So number 5, the thriller that I recommend, and I gave this 4 stars, is She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Very much about a single mom living in Chicago with her daughter. There is a serial on the loose. There's also a mysterious woman in the hospital bed that no one can figure out sort of what's going on with her, how she fell, this tragic accident. And it reminds me of a book that I'm also going to talk about. So it's very similar to The Silent Patient. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's sort of like this intermeshed story that like as you're reading it, you're sort of sitting there going, how does this all going to tie together? With thrillers, it's sort of the mystery of it all, the plot. But with these, everything was going every which way and sideways. And you couldn't really figure out how all of these different events were going to be connected. I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun read. I haven't picked up anything by Mary since, but I feel like I want to because she is a very good like thriller writer. Also, for all of these books, look up the trigger warnings. I can't list them all. I will forget one and then y'all will get mad. So just look it up, do your research. But maybe it added like an element for me, but because I live near Chicago, the fact that it was based in Chicago made it like so much more like spooky. I don't know, but I loved it. I loved how everything tied together. I loved how it sort of like tested the limits and the judgments of her sanity, as well as like her kind of reconciling with the type of person she is at the end and the things that she's done in her life. It was overall a really, really fun read. It didn't get a 5 stars just because at one point it was a little bit predictable, but nevertheless still a good read. Loved it. Highly recommend. The next one I want to recommend is The Silent Patient. I've talked about this book a lot, I feel. That was my stomach. I just ate. If you hear my stomach digesting things, no, you didn't. But The Silent Patient, I have talked about this quite a bit. I read this a couple years ago. I actually listened to it and I was sort of like obsessed with it for a while, which is why She's Not Sorry actually reminded me of it. And I think that's why I enjoyed She's Not Sorry, because it has a similar vibe, right? We have this doctor, a criminal psychotherapist, Theo, who is captivated by Alicia's story. Alicia is a mental patient that has not spoken in years. Her husband was found. It was assumed that she did it, and she was deemed not fit for trial. How am I remembering all this? I read this years ago. She was then put into a ward. So Theo takes this opportunity to really deep dive into Alicia's case and try to get her to talk and reveal what actually happened that day. And a big thing about Alicia is that she's actually an artist. So while she doesn't speak, she still creates art, which as an artist, if you didn't know, I have my bachelor's in art with minor in film photography, videography. I've said that a lot in these videos, but as an artist, I really enjoyed that. The patient in this is dealing with a bunch of trauma that has made her go, one could say voluntarily mute. Sometimes there's just things that we need to say that we can't, so our art can speak for us, whatever that art is and or means to you. So I really enjoyed that aspect as well. But I can honestly say the twist in this I didn't see coming. I know a lot of people did, but I really didn't see this coming. I was very shocked, and I really enjoyed this ending. I think I gave this 5 stars, and it was one of those things where, like, sometimes you read a book that's a thriller that has a lot of twists and turns, and then you get to the end and you're sort of because it wasn't like worth it. This was worth it. I feel very happy with this ending. I feel that every question I had was answered and it was resolved. God, I forgot how good this was. It's like you kind of like forget how good something is until you just hold it again. But a funny story about this, I'll tell you really quick. I bought a copy for myself. I was gonna order it off of Amazon, but then I found a copy in store because it was around like Christmas, so like this was sold out everywhere because it was like flying off the shelves that year. So I was like, okay, I'll order off of Amazon, and then I found a copy, so I canceled my order. But then I got an Amazon package with this book in it, and so I checked my orders and it said it was like successfully canceled. So I was like, oh, okay, I got a free book. One of my best friends calls me and she goes, did you get it? I said, I get what? And she goes, the book. I sent you a book. And I said, did you send me The Silent Patient? She goes, yes, I did. And it was her. It wasn't a mistake from Amazon. So I ended up returning the copy I found to the store because I was like, somebody else will stumble upon this. I would much rather keep the copy that my best friend so thoughtfully gave me. So this is the copy that she gave me for Christmas. Okay, so number 3 is in the other room, but I don't want to get up and get it. So I'll put a picture of it here. It's called Stone Maidens by Lloyd Richards. And it was a thriller I believe I picked up right after The Silent Patient. I picked up Stone Maidens. It was his first published book. Stone Maidens, about a detective. All these girls are going missing, and we sort of time jump in this book, right? Different girls going missing in different times, sometimes in different years, and it's all like, when I say that this book, you have to read every single page down to the last page of the epilogue for all of it to tie together. I mean it. Like, this is not a book that you can skip the epilogue. You have to read the epilogue or even like the first few chapters of the book to make sense. There's time jumps, but it's easy to keep up. And also what I like is that there's chapters included where you get the serial killer's point of view, like in the You series. And so you're sort of in the heads of all of these different people. Sometimes you're a witness for a chapter and you get their perspective. And it has a bunch of different perspectives that I love to see, especially with like a mystery or a thriller. I recommend this book actually to a lot of different people. It just has this whodunit, who is behind this all, who is this serial that we see their perspective in different chapters. There's some cult vibes. Like, it's a pretty well-rounded book. Even like down to the detective, we figure out sort of why she behaves the way that she does, and I loved this book. It's just amazing. And the next up, we have a series that I think that no one is going to be shocked by. The You series. Hello, the You series, my babies. I'm obsessed. As we know, this is my number 2 recommendation just because my number 1 recommendation is such like a great standalone that I want to recommend it if you're trying to get into thrillers. As far as number 2 goes, the entire You series is my recommendation. As we know, I stopped reading this series for a hot minute, right? Because I was dealing with literal stalking. But it's okay. That is no longer happening. So that's good for me. I did read the first 3 books. I'm getting ready to jump back into this. This is the summer that I jump back into this series because she has a 5th book coming out. The last season is coming out. So it's time. Because I do love this series. It's funny. It's got nice twists and turns. If you watch the You series and you're like, oh, I've seen the show, I can just pick up on the 4th book, you can't. These books are nothing like the show. They are completely different. It is completely different storylines. Yes, the names are the same and certain concepts are similar, like Peach still loves Beck and like 40 is still like a man-child. So there are like certain similarities, but you cannot predict what happens in these books by watching the show, okay? It's just not gonna happen. They are completely different. I always say shoujo, Penn Badgley, I love because he's Penn Badgley. And they make sort of the You TV show more of a dark romance-esque feel. This is a thriller. They are psychological. It is like living in the mind of Joe Goldberg constantly. Every single book is from his perspective, and I think it gives great insight to the character as well. Also, I annotated the absolute ever-loving out of these books. Sometimes I annotate a book, sometimes I don't. That doesn't mean that the book isn't a 5-star. It just means like I didn't feel like it. You know what I mean? There's some books that like I annotate to communicate with the book. That's how I describe it. I have books on the shelf that haven't been annotated and I still love them. My favorite series, Fourth Wing, I read it mostly on my Kindle and I'll make little notes here and there, but they are not annotated. But it's still my favorite series of all time. It just depends. There's no rules for annotation. You do it when you want to do it, and when you feel like it, you can choose to like write in your books. That's the nice thing about reading. There's no rules. So if you haven't gotten into this series, you really should. It is the perfect time to do it, I feel, because the last season of You is coming out, so you can finish the series of You. And if you're missing it and you haven't read these books, read the books. It's like a whole other world of You. Like you haven't seen it in the show at all. It's a completely different storyline. So for me, it's almost like a continuation of Joe Goldberg, except I hate this Joe Goldberg. He's gross. Fantastic series. And last but not least, again, I don't have the physical copy. I need to buy it, but I read it on my Kindle. It is The Quarry Girls by Jess Laurie. I have talked about this book so much. The Quarry Girls is a great standalone. It's sort of like putting on a classic slasher, but it's also just a little bit ahead of its time. It's very intelligently written, but it's not written like a slasher, I would say. It is about a group of young girls in the 70s. So these friends are all in like a girl band. One of the friends has a boyfriend that's a little bit sketchy. Suddenly, one day, after the fair that they all performed at as the girl band, their friend goes missing. And this friend is the bold friend. Take risks, sort of wild cards. So when she first went missing, if I'm remembering correctly, people kind of weren't shocked and they're like, oh, she'll turn up. But as we read the book, we see these chapters of a girl who's trapped and her sort of figuring out where she is, how to defend herself, how is she gonna get out, making plans. And our main character, as her life goes on, her friends start going missing one by one. It is up to her to sort of figure out who is behind it, who's doing it. It's sort of her just as this young woman trying to sort out what is going on. And it also kind of just speaks to the 70s, unfortunately, was a time where a lot of young women went missing. It sort of speaks to that time of we didn't have cameras, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have the DNA technology that we have, so it was much easier to get away with these sort of things. And it brings you back to that sort of time of like a Bundy time. And it also brings in the questions of who can she trust? What's gonna happen? Is something gonna happen to her next? Her sister next? Like, it had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. I think I read it in like a day. It was so good. So I always recommend The Quarry Girls. It's one of my favorite thrillers for sure, especially my favorite standalone thriller. That book I cannot recommend enough. Any of these books I can't recommend enough, but if you want to pick a standalone, I would pick that one. That is it for my top 5 thrillers slash thriller series. Let me know what your favorite thrillers are down below. Let me know what you're currently reading right now or a book that you just finished. Let me know if there's some thrillers or a thriller series that I need to pick up like today. And let me know if you pick any of these books up. But that is it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please be sure to like and subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.